Without further ado, I'd like to introduce the Affordable Housing Panel. Affordable housing has become quite interesting to me over the past couple of years as I've gotten into real estate, and the experience that these gentlemen have decades in real estate, capital markets, adjacent, and affordable housing. So hosting this panel is Mr. Christopher Kemp on my left here, with speakers Rafael Garcia and Dujuan Cherry joining us. Christopher, take it away.
Thank you so much, Matt, for the great introduction and for this great event. I'm Christopher Kemp. I'm the managing principal of the Kemp Group, a real estate development and consulting firm. I have about 20 years of capital markets real estate experience, big chunk of that in affordable housing. Today I'm joined by Rafael Garcia and Dujuan Cherry, two real estate developers here in the state of Wisconsin, and I'm sure they have a lot to say about the state of the market and what's going on. So let's start off with the first question. What do you see currently as some of the challenges that are facing the affordable housing market today?
Good morning, everybody. I'll start. My name is Rafael Garcia. I'm the executive director and founder of Community First. Community First is a nonprofit developer of affordable housing. In terms of some of the problems that we're seeing right now, if you know anything about Milwaukee, Milwaukee has identified 40,000 units below of affordable housing that we need today. So you could just think about the exponential problems that are going to happen if we don't continue to figure out how to build these units. So what we do, and when people think about affordable housing, I think most people think about new construction, new apartment buildings going up for poor people, which is definitely needed. That's part of the 40,000 units. One of the things that we have done is convert an old MPS building, 65,000 square foot building that's sitting vacant for about 10 years in the city of Milwaukee into 49 units of senior housing, utilizing low-income housing tax credits, federal and state historical tax credits, and a number of other different pieces of the capital stack, if you will, that are really difficult to get. But another thing, what we do and what is our bread and butter and part of our mission is we spend HUD monies, CDBG and home funding every year to keep low to moderate income families and seniors in their existing homes. So that's one of the things that really doesn't get talked about, and those are some of the resources that are really needed in our neighborhoods. The truth of the matter is, if I asked everybody here if you could afford to buy your house again, not everybody's hand will go up. So for our seniors who have owned and been current on their mortgage, utilities, and taxes for 20, 30, 40 years, what we do is we send licensed and insured contractors into the homes. We put 20, 30, sometimes up to $60,000 of repairs into the home. As long as the homeowner agrees to live in the house for 5 years. If it's a single family, in 10 years. If it's a duplex, then we only do single families and owner occupied duplexes. The money becomes forgiven. So to wrap up Chris's questions, we need to incentivize more programs, more diversity programs to also keep homeowners in their homes, because when they lose that house, whether it's through foreclosure or simply just being sold on the market, it goes back to the market, but it is no longer an affordable unit.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So my name is Dujuan Cherry. I'm the principal developer for Cherry Faith Properties, a real estate development company that focuses on housing for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. I think really the biggest challenge is kind of lack of education when people think about what affordable housing is and the impact that it has on the surrounding community. I think so many of the challenges from the developer side is when we pitch essentially what we would like to present for a specific community, it can be a little bit challenging when you're dealing with that fight in terms of, oh, we'll just bring in bad tenants doing bad things to our neighborhood and tear it down. ultimately, if we look at the units, right, it's providing things like, job opportunities where they can scale their pay. And then a lot of those units are to serve, of course, people that have disabilities, where they want to live, work, and play in their community. But you have to think about other people as well too. So teachers, right? We could talk about, teacher's salary and how, stable it's continuing to be. It's funny. I remember being in, I think it was back in elementary when I was like, if a teacher could swap pay or salaries with an NBA player, I'm pretty sure like that, they'll be extremely happy about that because they're the people that are impacting our lives, right? They set up so many foundations to who we want to become in our life, right? We don't see that in little, but they have to pay for their own supplies and things like that for their classroom when they're making $35,000, right? So think about that, right? Think about the teachers, think about the secretaries, the plumbers that are entry level, right, and not making $67,000, $80,000 yet. But I think it's just lack of education in terms of the impact that affordable housing has on this community, not only providing job opportunities, using taxpayer dollars for good, right, and just supplying other amenities and opportunities for the people that needs it the most, whether they have disabilities or not.
Thank you very much. Both of you, kind of focus on the supportive housing space. What areas of that supportive housing space do you see need more support in the affordable housing space? With regard to wraparound services or partnerships with other nonprofits or hospital systems, where do you see there needs to be more of a focus in that space? Dujuan?
Yeah, of course, I'm going to be a little bit biased and say, adults with intellectual developments of disabilities. So kind of starting my journey a little bit. So I went to Concordia University of Wisconsin, and I, was an RA of at the time it was called Bethesda College Program. They rebranded their name, and now their name is Ablelight. And so during that time of me being an RA, I taught life living skills. So life living skills, everyone, woke up this morning and brushed their teeth, took a shower, things like that. And they went in the car. If you work later on, it's of course it's a habit. So it's to create a schedule that you have. Well, I taught that, right? I taught that process of waking up, getting yourself ready to go to work every single day. A lot of the time we also work with local employers. So Concordia is in Mequon. And so we work with, I believe it was like a Pick and Save or the Metro Market down the street. There's a Piggly Wiggly, and then we work with other employers as well too to get them jobs. So I'm always going to say people that have disabilities, because just don't see housing for those families, for those individuals. A lot of those individuals, if they have parents that are taking care of them, they set up what's called a trust fund. But a lot of you have to think about it. If you grew up in north side of Milwaukee, you don't have a trust fund. A lot of them have to kind of take that own, their own kind of life in their own hands and try to figure out things as they go, because their parents or grandparents or whoever kind of died off. So you don't see housing for adults with, adults or families with disabilities. And I think that's just something I'm always going to advocate for. And when you have units as well too, they are ADA accessible as well too. So I think there definitely needs to be municipality and nonprofit organization create a collaboration to create housing for families and individuals that have disability. So
Thanks, Dujuan. I think that the collaboration is really the key. The projects that we've done, Villard Commons, historic 37th Street School, and now we're working on 76 units in Stevens Point, which has a housing plan and an affordable housing problem. The folks that we serve are usually the poorest of the poor, and what I mean about that is the folks that we serve are 0 to 60% of area median income. Like, these are families that are non-banked or underbanked. They live in food deserts. There's no, maybe they have a car, maybe they don't. Everything they do, they pay more for. So one of the things that we want to do with our developments is we don't want just any poor person living in our buildings. And I know that that's radical talk to some people, but what it is that we want is we want folks that we can wrap resources around so that they can become successful and eventually get out of our buildings and into their own buildings. So what does that look like? It looks like anything from financial literacy training, getting folks into home ownership, but it also looks like soft skill training, and what might be a no-brainer for some is just an unknown for others. So we've seen a need to teach people how to dress for an interview and also provide them with the clothing at some time. Provide them with pre-interview questions and talk to them about some of the things that they're going to be asked. Getting them pre-employment training, working with some of our pre-apprenticeship training or whatever it is. So I think that, the old adage that it takes a village is really true, and diversification of housing stock, whether it's in downtown Milwaukee or on the north side of Milwaukee, it's really needed to create communities that are best for everybody. I think that any community that only has one type of individual living there, whether it's all the same color, all the same socioeconomic status, I just think it's a negative all the way around. So we need to figure out ways to incentivize real estate developers to do more mixed income projects and projects like Dujuan is doing.
Yeah, that's a good segue because there's a huge focus on the building of more rural housing in the state of Wisconsin, probably around the country too. Given, more people are moving out, some of the smaller towns in northern Wisconsin are growing. One thing I know about is the city of Waupun has a huge problem retaining workers to finding housing for their workers. I heard that at the prison, they're paying people like $48 an hour. That's pretty good. So how do you incentivize, what do you think some of the incentives should be for smaller municipalities to attract more developers to their areas?
So construction costs the same on the lake as it does on 36th and Villard. That's the bottom line. Why would a developer develop in the central city where he can command $500 a month in rent when I can buy a property on the lake and command $5,000 a month for rent? Why? Why would I? It has to be about incentivizing developers. It has to be about what can we offer? What does it look like? Well, we have been working with municipalities that have a housing plan or would love to have a housing plan. As a nonprofit developer, our balance sheet is very small. We don't have the money to wrap up a property that scores for WIDA. We don't have the money to just buy it, right? So we look at landowners and we ask them, can I give you $5,000 to wrap your property up for a year, with extensions? And, they don't understand that process. So working with municipalities that have land that they can give us for reduced amounts, or municipalities that have the sophistication to create a TIF or tax incremental financing, or some type of financial piece of the capital stack that was not necessarily available for for-profit developers or for-profit developers that want to do affordable housing. These are some of the things that are really needed right now.
In black and white terms, create more pools of money, basically. I mean, more money, it really is helpful. And so just to kind of, and no, kind of more of a joke, but I will say, working in municipalities that specifically wants to create specialized buckets of money, right? Working with landowners as well and say, hey, we have this project going. We're being very upfront about our intentions because, that process, it really is grueling, right? And just to kind of take you all through something that I experienced, right? We had a parcel going. And the municipality was great. They gave us an automatic 90-day planning option from the get-go. And so of course, as throughout that 90-day period, you have to find all of your sources, right? You have to add in your revolving loan fund, you have to add in your TIFs, you have to add in your AHP, which is affordable housing program from the Home Loan Bank of Chicago. So of course, that's a grant, but of course, it's competitive. So you may be awarded $500,000, and it's great. It's part of your resources. Okay, but you're trying to collect essentially 25% of if a bank wants to go in 75% loan value or something like that. Just kind of spitballing numbers here, but especially within the market right now, you will see 8% interest rate. So banks right now are probably giving out 55% loan to value. So let's just say 50, you have to find 50% of your sources, right? And that's adding your TIPS, your revolving loan, your grant dollars. There's just so many things that you have to add in when you're building that pro forma. And you have 90 days to do this. So then I have to go back to the city and say, hey, we're kind of close. We have our plans designed and things like that. Be happy that the specific parcel, it's owned by the city, so you're giving us, time. But of course, there's extension after extension after extension, because sometimes there's sources that you had lined up, sometimes they want to pull out for their own specific reason, and that's okay. You just have to keep going. But this kind of gives you an insight on the back end hard work that you're going through when you're just trying to collect at the end of the day all the sources to do the project to impact the people that you want to impact. So I think to really go back to answering your question, it's just all about creating these buckets of money that we need to do these projects, right? And you can only do so much. You can only have so many conversations in terms of what interest rates and what the market will dictate. But it's just a grind. It really is a grind. And I think a lot of the time, good developers that are doing great work, sometimes they get a lot of bad slack for it. But ultimately, we really do we want to impact the people that we want to house, because we see that on the ground and we're working to get the job done. So to go back to answer your question, it's just create buckets of money so that we can utilize. That's it.
Really,
Let me say one more thing, Chris. These are extremely difficult projects to do. These are extremely sophisticated projects.
that's why I'm not doing it.
If I had, it's not like regular real estate development where you buy a piece of land that's already zoned for what it is that you want to build and you build it. That's it. You have to deal with NIMBYism everywhere also, so while the municipality may have a housing plan, if you don't know how to talk to the neighbors, your project will get killed. And you have to understand, especially when you go into some of these rural communities, when you mention affordable housing, they're already putting up roadblocks for you. They don't want affordable housing around their $1 million mansions. It's just not something that appeals to them. However, when you say, hey, this particular cheese factory has 95% of their workers that come from over an hour away, and this is workforce housing, then they start to understand things a little bit better. But they're extremely difficult jobs to do, and the more resources that developers can get, the better opportunities that there will be to make these come to fruition.
Workforce housing. I think a big part of building affordable housing in certain areas, in more rural areas, is how you package it. The language that you use, the words that you use, is a big part of it. And what I really took from both of what you said was we need better policy from our legislators, especially at the federal level, because that trickles down to the state level and further. So to get better affordable housing, more affordable housing, we need better policy from our legislators. So all of you out there that know your congressmen and senators, give them a call and knock on that door So, but, gentlemen, thank you so much for this panel. This is great. Any questions? Anybody have any questions for us before we? Nobody? Well, thank you very much.